We have the good karma fortune to be with each other here on each evening, to be able to focus on the teachings of the Buddha, just by having the intent to learn something that the Buddha taught, and then actually giving considerable time and attention, dedication, discipline, and then taking this teaching to our heart and try to understand life and some of its confusion, sufferings, problems, and openings. It can be great revealing and great healing to oneself and also to those around us. So that's why we can rejoice each other's company and have this intent to make of our time beneficial from the whatever realization or the notings that we can do from these teachings. They definitely are worth lifetimes of listening and study. And we are currently doing that with this collection of sayings of the Buddha compiled together in the name of Udānavarga, which is collection of sayings that are specifically on particular topics. We had a few sessions in the past. Tonight we're going to begin with this session on the third topic of this collection. The third topic of this collection is called craving. Craving seems to be a little bit should be understood as distinct from desire and attachment themselves, which was the topic we read last week. So the third topic, which deals with the craving, is this incessant wanting in our mind. What that is, whether they need to be attended to, or whether this incessant wanting and craving that we want need to be culled and dealt with. And in this case, that's the case. How to understand the demerits of craving, and how craving is like the thirst, like the neediness, like discontentment. All the discontentment comes from this incessant craving we have. We don't even see what we have when we crave some things. It's just like covetous mind that always wish I had this, and one doesn't see what one already have from the past. That may be quite capable of fulfilling their basic necessities. So here the teaching isn't about fulfilling needs, but more talking about restraining excessive cravings. And of course, we will know how they are. That needs to be covered in this particular reading, which we will do tonight. It starts with saying, "Lujen number tope rapjomnes." It means destroyed by his own discursive thoughts, meaning the person themselves are destroyed and vanquished and made bad to worse themselves by their own discursive thoughts. That man, the man sees and desires unpleasant body as pure. So one who is craving and wanting, he sees and imagines and desires unpleasant things as pleasant, impure things as pure, and unnecessary things as something he or she needs. meaning intensifying the passion for what he desires, only to exacerbate, intensify the flare of the very desire. Rangi Chingwa Dei Tambuji means his own strong desire fastens himself. Meaning he's bound by his own desire. So a person's unhappiness, a person's inability to move on, inability to forgive, is because he could not let go what he craved, what he desired, and he doesn't realize his possession of these things is worsening him, but he's even more fastened, tied up with that. But the devastating about that is it doesn't allow the person to see that as the cause. He actually thinks his lack of something, his neediness, try to fill the gap by possessing those things. These things actually doesn't fill the gap. This creates more gaps. But the one who is craving doesn't see that. So it's almost like it's hiding. It's like concealing what really he needs, and therefore masking the real need is left ignored. They ignored, and in the meantime, what they try to crave seems to fasten themselves. They have to do it. They must do it. I had to do it. I have to have this once a day or several times a day, or I have to have. People have this amazing sense of addiction. So it makes the person themselves to be fastened, tied up. This the word fastened, becoming tied up, attached. So this, I suppose, has quite a pointing towards anyone's addictions, whatever form of addiction that it is, addiction to ego or view of my view or whatever it is. That because of that, they're not able to, for instance, acknowledge other person's valid view. For instance, because of that, he couldn't progress. He's so attached to his views, he doesn't see the other people's view. For instance, because he's vanquished by that. He's vanquished by his own craving, that wanting his only way. And if there is a problem in the person, it's mainly because of that. His discontentment may be towards you and me or others, but actually it's his own craving. Amazing thing about this teaching is this doesn't leave out anybody. Everybody needs to look at their degree of craving, whether they have one or how much of that is the problem to the mix. It's amazing how quickly people can see what they previously choose not to do, even let alone see. But if a person saw that by this reading, then they will say, I need to change. This is the very thing that is make myself to so fixed to my views, because it's fastened to tied oneself inseparably with. So Tandanamdo Nyevare Shigashin means he who is fond of pacifying his descriptive thoughts, Midugomba Taktu Denjite should continually remain mindful and meditate on the foulness and unpleasantness of desired objects, things, the hollowness, the meaninglessness, the emptiness, the exaggerated picture that one actually makes. So one needs to look at what actually it is beyond this layer, beyond the second layer. What actually is it that you are actually desiring? One who wishes to pacify his or her cravings and desire must meditate and be mindful of the meditation on the unpleasantness, which is called the unattractiveness of the thing. Maybe one part of the thing look very attractive, but look at the other extreme, and then one realizes it's not quite the attractive or beautiful, or bright, or youthful, or strong, or whatever the color or thing or object that it appears. So when one remembers of its incompleteness of the beauty, or the propped up nature of the thing, and that actually itself is held up by a small little stick together, that it looks like that. Otherwise, once that springs down, it's just completely collapsed. There isn't anything that is desirable, let alone pleasant, let alone pure. So one must meditate. This is very important, because if you have craving, if one meditate on the unpleasantness of the object that one is craving, that unrealness of the object that one exaggerates, then it just totally remedies one's craving and desire, and the problem itself is solved by understanding, not by getting. So this amazing teaching is that one is actually understands what one is desiring, lacks the object and the thing. Firstly, it's impermanent. Secondly, itself is not, even for the time being, it is not that pleasant. Not to mention how soon it won't be that at all. Not even that. There wouldn't even be a trace of it. If one is able to foresee the inevitable nature of it, then one will not exaggerate and desire. Te separab tu pangbayi means freeing himself completely from the craving by understanding. Pangbayi rangi chingwa dedak turwarje means he may destroy his own bondage. Then he is free to destroy his own suffering. Otherwise, we know what will people do. People will blame others for hurting them, for upsetting them. They say, they hurt me. They don't realize their own craving. If they got it, they will stay quiet. So that is nothing to do with the object. It's all to do with their own craving. So they will free themselves from their own bondage. So that is not just one person, but both sides. It also applies the other side, if it's to do with between desired by animate person to animate person. Of course, if desired by animate person, inanimate object, I don't know what do we have to do there. We have to unpack the object. We have to disassemble the object and then see what's there. Of course. So one will be liberated. One will be liberated. He will destroy his own bondage, because he knows his own craving has exaggerated. His own craving makes up things and then says all my amazing things that actually did not happen at all. It's totally his own exaggeration that desired undesirable, and unpleasant as a pleasant, impure as a impure, imperfect as perfect. One didn't realize all of these things, and soon they came out to be what actually they like. See? He will be liberated from his own bondage. He will not think that the object or subject hurt me or harmed me. There will be no such thing, because his own craving has bound himself to the degree in which they are mourning and groaning. Now there will be no such victim. He will be liberated from his own bondage by this very understanding. That's why these are teachings. It's not talking about people's fault, but it's talking about how to remedy those faults. It's not to highlight people and make them bad and make them guilty. That's not the teaching. That's just guilty. Making people guilty is not a teaching. Making people recover from the danger of being guilty and resentful is a teaching. A web of desire obscures one in darkness. What the person is wanting, craving it themselves so much, they completely obscure their eyes and mind from what it actually is and will be. Means they are covered in like a big blanket over the head, like a big blanket. The web of desire obscures oneself in darkness. One is vanquished into pieces by the onslaught of one's own craving. So not only one is covered by one's craving, continuously wanting, exaggerating, and promising, exaggerating oneself for what it will be, that has completely destroyed oneself by the very craving. Parame chingwe jingbata means heedlessly is he tied by his own attachment. He is attached, he is bound by his own attachment to the very thing that is not desirable. Just as a fish caught in the net. And a fish didn't get in the fish didn't go in the net unless he thought there was a beautiful thing to eat in the net. And unfortunately, there is something alluring in the net. Actually, the net is empty, isn't it? There's nothing to eat in the net. But yet it thinks there's something nice to eat in the net. It's empty, actually. Net is so deceptive. It's holes of many holes, but it looks like there's a lot of things in the holes. Poor fish, you know. But it doesn't know how dangerous it is to get in there and not realizing there's nothing in the net. Nothing in the net. But as soon as they get in the net, they don't know how to get out of it. Because they're caught. They're caught in the tsemarchipi nyatang da, just as a fish got in the net. But fish didn't get in the net just accidentally. He thought there was something in the net. Likewise, people who are craving and desiring, they actually see something in the object themselves. You know, the net didn't say anything, come inside, I have a lot of things inside. But yet one actually projects and one sees what one thinks and didn't realize that it is a cage, that one wouldn't be able to get out of that. So this what does this say is when a person is trapped in their own sufferings, their own angst or resentment towards some experience of the people or something, they don't realize it's their own. They thought they got caught in the net that they themselves went in, you know, because they're so bound by their own attachment and clinging to it, so ignorant that it lacks anything in there, but yet it actually could see things is there. It is only projected by the very craving mind that one sees things that are not even there. Those who have lost themselves in heedlessness, means their craving edges does like a creeper, you know. The craving is like a creeper. The plant called creeper just slowly gets everything just piles it together in amazing, meticulous way. You wouldn't believe how organized the creeper is. People say creepy, you know. The word creepy, I think, comes from this. People say something is creepy out there. They don't realize their own craving is creepy. So that's what is this talking about. Wait until you become caught by the creeper of your own craving. Yeah. But one wouldn't own it. One wouldn't think it's one's own craving that is done it. One thing is the other, the exactly opposite. There's something out there. Gadan shivages and dronjurtes, they run after old age and death. You know, they're basically old age means they're being aged by their own craving. You know, not by maybe years. They are aged quicker than biology. The biology, ages much quicker than their age. Why? Because they're aged by their craving more. You can see some people look so old, you know, because they're aged by this craving and desire that they don't have any contentment and gratitude in the things they have. Those people who are maybe simple but who are very thankful, you can see they're much more, they age much slower, physically and emotionally, you know, and they grow, you know, intellectually and spiritually much more. So the analogy is, as does the calf after its mother longing for milk. You know, a little calf always goes towards the mother cow and milk, and she doesn't want to part. Of course, that's just attractive. Of course, a calf needs milk. And calf needs to sustain by milk. But of course, that's an analogy that he doesn't know anything else to be attracted to. And in front of the mother, even though it's under the mother, even though it's a particular part of the body of the mother, he would prefer deliberately to go there. Maybe it's right next to her urinating door or whatever. It's just want to go there. Doesn't know how to go somewhere safer or higher or drier. They don't know. They deliberately go there. Likewise, a person who is heedless, his heedlessness will cause himself to bring quick aging and death and so on. So these things comes very quickly. Not talking about just death, generally speaking. The death will come very quickly for people who are very, very desirous. You can hear lots of people dying of overdose while in very high performance or some amazing occasion, but they're just cravings push them so hard they didn't even know it's going to kill them. They don't die naturally. Desirous people don't die naturally. Craving induced people don't die naturally. They bring the death quickly by their own behavior, by their own heedlessness. Drink and driving is drink and driving and desire, basically. 3 Ds and death. Drink and driving with a desire and brings death. No time for old age. Yeah, it's quite true. Usually you hear those people. Some people are, very good safe drivers get killed because of the other factors. But quite a lot of time, young, passionate people on their way to a party, on their way to a big celebration, or on their way back, they just kill themselves. That's what this is true. This is not some... Buddha saw this 2,600 years ago, how people are thrill seekers. They want to thrill themselves, but they didn't know. They'll kill themselves in that little vehicle or in their little toy or with their little company of friends because they're so driven by their craving. Yeah, they don't even have to get sick. They don't even have to get old to die. Why? This desire is so dangerous. It's so dangerous, so destructive, and everybody wants to live long. People who want the desire is completely, remember, covered by webs. They don't even know what they're doing to themselves. They're covered in this dark web, a blanket or something. They completely lose the direction to turn which way is safe, which is not safe. They don't know how to. And in the end, there's decadent society where people, on the weekend, there's a lot of casualties, a lot of accident. It's all desire motivated. Of course, there are other unfortunate occurrences too, but mainly because of that. Mida temperchitang shakjitang, those who have lost themselves to heedlessness. Idewala toperchepata, their craving edges as does a creeper, like before. They run after old age and death, as does the calf after its longing for the milk. Another similar example as before. Meaning he who longs and is passionate, and yearns happiness, will repeatedly wander hither and thither in samsara. means like the monkey looking for the fruit in the forest. So because he wants it so much that he could not be restful on one branch or one piece of fruit. His desire just doesn't even allow to eat the one properly and just half eaten, and then quickly jumps and often jumps into trouble. So one who's completely intoxicated by desire doesn't have any lasting joy or satisfaction, even from the reasonable things that he can draw some temporary satisfaction. Even that he doesn't, because he's so restlessly trembling, heedlessly, as if he has no control over himself. Sepanam yundupe semchen tav. So those who are held in the fold of craving, sidan simintala semchashin, who are attached to the concerns of existence and non-existence, kunjo rolagave chipanam, the childish who would only delight in the taste of indulgence, yangdu dunga topanyu, will only find suffering again and again. So, talking about it, how childish beings do not know how many times they already have harmed themselves, have disappointed themselves, have hurt themselves. They unable to contain that, will constantly go to seek and crave that, and they do not know how to restrain themselves. And if they restrain that, at least they will be restraining from future sufferings. Temporarily, they think they will get what they want, but at least they get what they want. They get exactly opposite they want, and disappointingly, and that agitates them even more. Even anger is not a fault its alone, if it wasn't so much perpetuated by these bit strong craving that one is talking about. Kiwo trupdang dewa tangrashin. Those who are doomed and without peace of mind, who have all the traits of a demon possessing, run after old age and death, as the calf after its mother longing for milk. So that analogy is exactly. So the person is actually aged by the very craving that he has. This is talking about he who casts off a craving in this life. So meaning those who have paid heed to these teachings and therefore learn to curtail or reduce their cravings slowly gradually. He has no craving for what is or what isn't an existence. So he doesn't seek for higher purpose, higher possessions, higher roles, high responsibility. He's not craving for all that, because he knows the more higher he seeks, that much precarious they become. And but those who do not know that actually sees the exact opposite. A bhikkhu means mendicant who has conquered the existence. The bhikkhu doesn't want to be held high possessions, high positions. Bhikkhu doesn't want in the worldly gains and profits and so on, and will attain nirvana without remainder. So those who seek material worldly gains, they are completely enticed by that, only to be disappointed that they don't have any lasting benefit at all. Whereas the mendicant, who has actually conquered his inner craving, do not have a yearning to get those precarious situations. Therefore, he or she is free to claim nirvana, the state beyond sorrow. State beyond sorrow. So one can actually be free from sorrow. So sorrow isn't because you have this problem, that problem, you have difficult people, or you have difficult relatives or difficult neighbors. Not like these are not cause of sorrows. Sorrows mainly caused by one's own craving, and that attracts those difficulties. When one is able to do that, then you can basically put an end to the sorrow. 가싱직된 빵가we sipe pumen dikolwa te nyangem pejude zala charba babahin means he who finds it hard to renounce the world, meaning one who is very attached to worldly niceties and is insensible of his desire for the opposite, like the gender or the same gender, because this is written by monks, and they usually talk about the opposite, usually women, one who is insensible for his desire for women. So in this case, it could be insensible for his or her desire for whoever, particularly in this ACT, Australia's current state of affairs. That everybody's allowed to desire whoever type of thing, will intensify his sorrow. Will only intensify his sorrow, just like a downpour on the grass. Yeah, just like a rain, the grass will be completely destroyed, by the flood. So likewise, the person who is craving and suffering and wanting the object of desire, he will be basically destroyed by the very thing that he desires. So people aren't destroyed by people are destroyed by their craving. And you can see how people destroy life through drinking or whatever, gambling or whatever extreme habits they have. They are destroyed by that, not by some other things. When one understands this, then one can actually own one's own share of craving and desire and learn to remedy them, and then have less sorrows. Sorrows are caused by cravings and one's desires, not by not getting. People get the things they desire, but they didn't realize it's not what they should be getting. And then they're disappointed. And they think there's a fault of the object. But the teaching says there isn't anything desirable and pleasant and pure that is there in the object, which is amazing teaching, really. If everybody knew that, then we can all go very easy. And then there is no disappointment, because all disappointment and sorrow comes from the desire, craving. It's not the fault of the object. Object is an opinion of the observer, a desirer. Object is not desirable to everyone. If it's desirable to everyone, why didn't others get it before us? Nobody wants it, but we're the one who really want just that. And so that shows how much is the projection of the craving mind. How much is the projection of the craving mind makes it see. So exaggerates. It almost blurs and obscures the person's eyes or any other senses. That's insensible. He becomes insensible. Mm-hmm. His senses are completely disempowered. It's just like a person who is blind and is deaf and mute and can't even tell what is what. Now that's what desire does. That's what they call poison. Desire is a poison. You don't need heroin. You don't need alcohol. You don't need drugs. You don't need to go to places to get harm, to get poison. But one's own craving. A lot of people are not using any of those things, but yet still so miserable. And it's not because they don't have loved ones, not because they have a difficult country, because they're completely havocked by their own craving. They're just unrealistically wanting things that is completely not useful. And they wouldn't listen to parents, they wouldn't listen to a teacher, they wouldn't listen to friends. They're just so driven by their craving. And they wouldn't know how dangerously they are negotiating their life, and they are not heedfully listening to anyone. So it's a self-destroyer. It's destroyer. It's destroying people. Afflictions, we call affliction. Because desire here is specifically highlighted as an affliction. What does affliction does is affliction just completely obscures person's intelligence. Sensible become insensible, and rational become irrational. An able person become disabled. It is that bad. So if we haven't got a way to detect that craving arising and how the craving is the cause of suffering, with the Buddhism taking great liberty to explain this. So 2,600 years ago he was explaining this and explaining this to people. And when the people hear Dharma and understand Dharma, and something clicks, and then makes them to look in their own mind. Whatever the problem, it is there. They always might sometimes think it's external, but as soon as they remember Dharma, they will look within. They will look within, and as they look within, and they know that they are about to become insensible. They are about to lose their mind, if not totally already at the verge of losing the mind. And one of the robbers of your mind is the desire. And it cannot be banned by others, cannot be banned by law, cannot be banned by religion, because it's an emotional thing. So you have to have a huge degree of emotional literacy to understand that what is this emotional mix that I should attend to or put away, cast it away. And these chapters we're reading is so poignant, so articulate for our ability to have such reading, such kind of ability to read our own mind. That is on the verge of entertaining these cravings. And as soon as we do recognize, we can take a few steps back, and then blink our eyes and unwax our eyes, and put on a contact lens, or whatever. At least then we can see. Thank goodness. Otherwise, it looks very blur. All of a sudden, we got our mind back. And then the object that we are not happy with is totally at the whim of our desire or reduction of it. Otherwise, it's all the object's fault. So it appears. See, one has refuge, will not do that, will not get into that direction. 간식 직된 빵가에 세배 보면 되고라 대냥은 배유자 간식 직된 빵가에 세배 보면 돼 보면 대냥은 도주 빼말리는 situation. He who finds it hard to renounce the world will give up his desire for the other. He will be immune from sorrow as is water drop to the lotus. Water dropping on the lotus does not destroy the lotus like it does the grass. So therefore, one who is not craving for something, doesn't desire for that, he will be free from the sorrow. Neither from not getting, nor by desiring, nor by losing. All of those things are inevitable. So he wouldn't be desiring what is undesirable. He knew that already. And if possible, there wouldn't be even intentional desire, let alone clinging on to what we think one has desire, what one has possessed, and even one loses it, there's no sign of devastation. There's no sign of blaming. There's no sign of as if one has been harmed by it. There's no such thing. This is because it's a lotus, remember? Lotus couldn't be soiled by water. One who has no craving, one who hasn't got the desire, will not be affected by neither loss of it, nor by not getting of it, or by losing something by death or whatever. There will be no sorrow after the loss. There will be no sorrow. There will be complete freedom from sorrow. So it's not a, that's what we call Mahaparinirvana, meaning be going beyond sorrow. Buddha's passing is not a cause of sorrow, but it's to transcend all the sorrows. Because there wouldn't be a birth or rebirth that is caused by affliction and karma. And that's why it is beyond sorrow. The sorrow will not. So a true person loses the same thing. Maybe both of them lost house in the flood. Maybe both of their family were destroyed by whatever, tragedy or whatever. But one will fare well, other will not. Is it because he doesn't care for the other? No, because he doesn't have the attachment to the thing. If it's useful to have some feeling for other, of course you can, but it's no longer useful to have that feeling, have the desire, because you have a lotus-like understanding. You have your lotus work very well with the flower, or like say water, and it will not be soiled by the water. It shines in the water. It shines when it loses things. It shines when it doesn't get it. It shines when it doesn't want it even more. When it doesn't want it, she shines even more. When the person is, enlightened one is hard to come by, because they have to completely change their mind, the sheet of the mind, so to speak, to be unsoilable by the water-like afflictions. It's not possible, because one has developed a strong resistance, that one doesn't get soiled by loss of these things. There is no loss at all. There's not even a loss. You don't lament what you didn't lose. Only losers complain what they lost. The winners never complain they lost. Because they never lost anything. It's good. When you have no desire, there's no loss of anything. Even robbery would be good blessing. Even if you lose something, would be great task, great opportunity. That's a Lojong teaching says, try to transform all adverse conditions into the practice of Dharma. You lose something, you get robbed. You say, may all the karma of taking from others what I did in the past be purified by this losing, by this what a conventional robbery is. May this person find happiness from things that I didn't get to do much useful for. So one will be able to think like that. Why? It's like a lotus-like. There's no attachment to the things. Then one is truly heard the Dharma, and one is really unaffected by there is no suffering in the loss. There is gain in the Dharma. When you have Dharma, it excels all gifts, they call it. Yeah. Only when you can do that, then you have got the Dharma. Then you really have not only remembered the words, but you have comprehended the Dharma. You have realized the Dharma, and it's like a nectar. It is so relishable. It does not defeat you. It will give you a feed instead. Therefore, as many as are here come together, meaning people, I ask you all to have a well-being, the Buddha says. As many as there are people, I ask you to all consciously practice wellness. Uproot the weed of craving. You just have to prune that one, weed of craving, as one does grass by its root. If you uproot the grass from the root, then you're not just cutting on the surface. You uproot the grass and that's it. Likewise, if you go and uproot the craving, then all you know how to practice well-being. You will be well. You will notice how much you Do not complain. Amazing. Ability to let completely go. Because it wasn't yours anyway. It's only craving that made it think it is yours. that you thought was better, you had it. But now you're completely free without it. It's you suffer not by having, you free from suffering by not needing it. That is contentment. That is renunciation. That's true renunciation. Is no craving. You can have things, but if you're not attached to it, it doesn't matter. When you have to let go, you will let go. There's no aftershocks. There's no complaining that you lost. You just see them as the nature of things. you sooner or later they're not yours anyway. It's just, it's just convention. Conventional society says it's yours, it's mine, or whatever. But actually, it's not what it's really. Particularly land. To think land is someone else's is quite a sacrilege, really, a sacrilege to think it's our land type of thing. It's everybody's use over the matter. Kiewu sepa tangdona yurintuzu chamgirwes. He who has given himself to the company of these desires will wander about for a long time. It means in samsara, in vicious cycle. It doesn't mean many lifetimes type of thing. Even in this very lifetime, there will be so many vicious cycles. Amazing. So, Buddha says, so uproot the desire so that there is neither sorrow nor fear. If you uproot the desire, then there will be no fear. There will be no sorrow. There's no anxiety, no depression, no complaint, no post-traumatic stress disorder. Gosh, mouthful, it's desire. Why do you have to go post-traumatic stress disorder? It's just a desire, it's a craving. Full stop. Buddha was not good at inventing long words. No. He was good at putting craving. That's it. It's a post-traumatic of losing what one craved. Not because of anything. Because one is craving the very impermanent as permanent, unsatisfactory as unsatisfactory, and when the impermanent prove impermanent, when the unsatisfactory unsatisfactory, then one is traumatized. Thinking it should be lasting longer, there should be more permanent than they are, which is going completely insensibly, and yes, then there is a disorder. Disorder of knowledge. Not because what happened. It happens all the time. Because one has this factually wrong idea that it should last long, that it is satisfactory, that it is perfect. One has these kind of ideas. Nothing is lasts long like that. However, few months, few years, things are good. That's about it. After a while, it will turn sour. Nothing runs smoothly all the time. It's not because you are, not because he did this. It's nature of existence, nature reality. See, that's the truth. If you knew this truth, then you will not desire the opposite. And then there's no stress. Either then or after. If you knew that, that's the real knowing, That's the real knowing, Dharma, knowledge. Knowledge of Dharma, the seeing, the true seeing is seeing the impermanence and unsatisfactoriness and unrealness of all things. When one is able to do this, there is no sorrow, no fear, no lamentation, no complaining. Why? Because one has uprooted the very craving. Sorrow comes from attachment to what one thinks one had. that should stay the same. That nothing does. If it does stay the same, it didn't. Why didn't it stay the same? So why would one have sorrow when it wasn't going to last? If you don't need, you see something that says it was expired 2 weeks ago, you're straight away happy to throw in the bin. You wouldn't say, tie on the neck. I wish I ate last week. I wish I used last week. You don't say that. You straight away throw them. This modern production is helping us to know that everything expires. Everything is good before something, best before some days, but afterwards not good. It's good to know that all the things are only good for a little while and not afterwards. Yangda yangdu nyelenching, yangda yangdu ngalduju. Negap yurdan hengyuwe, semjen ondan towarche. Again and again seeking for existence due to craving, when we die, for instance. Instead of having to destroy craving when we die, we want to stay the same as, I want to stay as a father, I want to stay as a whatever, I want to hold a job or possession or position. When we did that, then we again and again we will exist, we will be reborn by the force of the karma that we are perpetuating unconsciously. They again and again enter the womb of the mother, without choosing. They have no ability to choose which would be the good mother, or which would be good family, which would be a good place. Not that any one of them that's satisfactory anyway, in the long run. But even within the relative level, they don't know how to choose. They just, it's like in the blind, just holding on to anything you can get in the darkness. They have no idea how they chose each other. And they wish they never chose each other, but that's exactly what they did. Beings come and go. To one state of being succeeds the another. So they're repeating this vicious cycle again and again and again. Now this is talking strictly in terms of life after life. But we talk about, if we look at it in one life, you can see when people aren't able to recognize the danger or harmfulness of their own craving and attachment, you can see they are repeating the pattern again and again, and they do not recover unless they heard the Dharma and found refuge. Then you can see how much the person softened. They may be not totally liberated, but still the duration of angst or complaint or self-pity are shorter, and they turn to Dharma, and then they're no longer huffing and puffing. They just say, oh, goodness gracious, at least I got Dharma to turn to. Then at least they get a fresh air, fresh outlook, and then they're no longer in that dark hole anymore. See, one who have refuge, at least his duration of suffering is not incessantly, compromising long. They can make it shorter. It's shorter. You see, you can make them shorter, and you can also pardon yourself. You can also forgive the sentient beings. You don't harbor ill will so long. You see them; they're just so pitiful that they have to suffer due to our selfishness and our craving. And then it's really you're almost fit to forgive them and practice compassion to them, and set them free, at least from your ill will. You can never set them free from their desire, but you can at least set them free from your ill will, because your ill will usually comes from your desire not being fulfilled. Even ill will is not a bad affliction on its own. It is due to us wanting what we want, and we didn't get what we want, and so we are angry. We have the ill will towards it due to that. When we recognize this, it's easy to change the mind. You never have this, we must get this, if not non-negotiable. There's always room to negotiate, always find room to look around. You may try that, but it's not workable. So, happy to drop it totally, completely turn around. We want to be alive. We don't want to be dead by such childish kind of and negative mind that want only one, that's impossible. That's just not tenable, untenable. You can see that when you have Dharma. See, at least the life cycle of samsara is a little bit shorter, even within one life. The likelihood of repeating next life is a little bit reduced. Even within this life, you can say, oh, usually you would have kept that going and so or whatever for days, weeks. No more. After every few hours practice, you completely recover. Wow, that's why we need to practice. We need to revisit our refuge, renew our mind and Bodhisattva's way of life, and there we go. Yes, we remember the steps of the dance of the Bodhisattva. Because there's somebody still playing the tune. Oh, thank you. You're nearly losing the tune. Go out of tune very quickly. And quickly we win. See, you can stop the cycle of misery and litany of complaints and anger and all this bore me and all that. This goes away quickly. Sometimes people suffer a bit, but then thankfully they have a practice to turn to, they have Dharma friends to meet to, they have Dharma books to open to, they have holy faiths like these great masters and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and great lineage gurus to think about, and straight away these objects, these holy objects, these things, our relationship with them brings our sanity back. And that's what it's called. Please, may my mind turn to Dharma. May I reach the path of Dharma. May I realize, the afflictions, are actually the would-be wisdoms. Not lump oneself with afflictions. Even afflictions are not real, not permanent. Even desire. If desire is permanent, Buddha could not speak so much about the possibility of its harmfulness, and so what's the point of it all? Because desire hasn't got a life of its own. It isn't a thing by itself, So it hasn't got any power to hold a grip on us if we look at it with this cognition. It has no kind of controlling power over us. There's lots of people who have given up this habit or given up that habit. Even just to drop one habit in their life completely changes their life. Here we're talking about desire entirely, but even just to give up smoking or drinking, how much sensible change the person may have got in his life, and friendship and respect may be restored as a result of even giving up small area of one aspect of craving and desire. Buddha is this omniscient one. He knows the cause of human suffering, and he also knows the cause of human happiness. And very few people have that. And that's very rare. Buddha is very rare. And one who speaks with such confidence, with such certitude, such realization, so few. And that's why his words are repeated, translated, memorized, and published. And given the transmission, so that people do get exposed to such wisdom of knowledge. And we need to stay committed to that ourselves. It is hard to, it is danger chuna mazempar kangilada minamsu danger jingne jejeba yula sepa tele goal. Without wasting this precious human life, he who craves and strives to attain life of gods and humans. Some people trying to practice this life meaningfully to gain higher rebirth of humans and gods, is going against the very purpose. He says, why one needs to practice with craving to gain a rebirth of another human and God, when it should be focused now to uproot the very craving, craving for that, So that's why it's talking about not practice spirituality to crave to gain higher rebirth and so on. That craving is just like then it doesn't serve the purpose. So why one want to repeat the problem, likely to repeat the problem again by seeking another rebirth. So this is recommending that one should not crave for another life, at least due to the deluded one, and because if one does, one wouldn't be able to do much use for the benefit of that. 심지어냐월 깨나야 단조 타wen 교파랑 강세 시주 gyurgyurwa yulase bandeji shi is even if beings are born in a hell, he will repent by wasting away human life. So one actually even one will notice that why did I spend my life like that? Even the hell one will repent and one will regret. When craving is the cause of ocean of existence, craving for the object is the basis of the fruit. So the craving for higher rebirth of humans or gods, which most, if not all religion, promote people to pray, to practice, to get into heaven. Craving heaven, craving heaven is craving problem, because heaven isn't above suffering. It's just heaven is just a little bit maybe comparatively better, but otherwise it's still the cause of further suffering, even more, because one is craving for happiness or physical pleasure or ordinary heaven. Heaven is just physical pleasure. It's not mental liberation from sorrow. Liberation from sorrow at all. So the liberation from sorrow is nirvana, and that desiring or seeking that is not a craving, because that is not the space in which one is said to gain, is devoid of any of the need or craving for physical pleasure, because one doesn't have any mortality. There's no mortal body. There is no rebirth. There is no rebirth at all. At all. Tishin tewe kepchepa, dungarchipa maduna, dungandine yandayan, nambagundu domingyo. Desire is the root of the vine, which creeps up and entwines one as in the fold of a net. If it does not destroy the tormentor, he will be subject to ever-recurring suffering and will never leave it entirely behind. So it's talking about seeking higher rebirth, and heaven is like a creeper, there will be never a moment one will be free from that. So therefore, what would be the purpose of seeking that? Bena joshi zena madonna, chekan shishin gyawar konarse. Deje sebe chagi madonna, yanda yanda dunga dimendos. Yeah. As long as the live tree has not been pulled out from its root, but only cut down by its branch, it springs up afresh. So it is that even if the smallest atom of desire has not been eradicated, one will not leave behind this ever-recurring existence of samsara. So it's talking about not only fault of craving, but fault of craving for higher rebirth, higher rebirth, and what others call them as a heaven, because that's why one wanted to go to get there to fall down. so it would be defeat the very purpose of the effort. Penadani kine chipetson de kumbu tuye daksotar. Deji nange semle chungoy sebelujin yawa sobraje. He says, channels of craving are the source of all transmigrations. So the desire is the actual cause of the repeated rebirth. The very situation we are born now are the very unfulfilled activities of the past. We didn't realize their unworthiness. One is seeking just that. Desire in this world is the root of the wine, which creeps up, and entwines oneself as in the folds of the net. It will destroy oneself. So now I'm reading wrong line. As long as the live tree has not been pulled from its root, but only cut down by its branches, it will grow back. So therefore, one needs to learn how to get rid of very root of the tree itself, not to repeat, not to allow it to grow again, unless you uproot it thoroughly from the very root. Thus, by knowing how all suffering stems from craving, knowing how to prevent them from re-arising in the future, one who has abandoned craving, one who has eradicated craving will not have graspings. Because craving causes grasping. When there is no craving, there will be no grasping. If there is no grasping to something, means your craving is very little. Then you can let go very quick. Otherwise, you're so fixed with your views, you just wouldn't change at all. So the fact that you can negotiate your grasping, when you can let go, means your craving is somewhat reduced. When the craving is reduced, then the grasping and the fastener is not there. It doesn't fasten you. And then use, it's just like the bhikkhu, just like the reflected bhikkhu, he is free from all sorrows. He has no sorrows because he has no grasping. Not only did he give up craving, but he has no grasping to the outcome. Even to the outcome, there's no grasping, or lack of outcome, he has got no grasping. So he's totally free. He's very, very completely reflective and mindful. So this is talking about how we can subjectively look in our mind as a practitioner, I suppose. Formal practice can be just a formal practice, but sometimes just looking at it in our mind, how much discontentment we have, or how little discontentment there is. You wouldn't believe that how much happiness there is, joy there is, how much gratitude there is, how much tolerance there is when your craving is lessened. Your craving is lessened, you're fit to practice all the above. It's amazing. It's like your license to be well. your license to be enlightened, if you like, because you are totally free from the thing that really sinks you into the pit of samsara. Now that's a very good practice. Sometimes we could be sort of thinking whether how is my practice or not, how many hours we are moving the mala or reading, turning pages or whatever, volume of things we're doing, whether we have satisfied others or whatever. But how much actually gratitude and non-complaining there is in our mind is an ample proof of the practice actually kicking in. It's just like it says in the sutra elsewhere, do not do any harmful things, do only that is good, purify your mind. This is the practice, this is the teaching. So when you purify the mind, then there is no sign of grievances and cravings. even if there are some things that are upsetting you. But these are not because of you. You're doing something for others, and you have to do it. But deep down, you don't have any qualms or quarrels or discontentment. You know, so long as we need to exist in this world and breathe, we will have to do some things, hopefully benefit others. If we didn't do any harm to others, that's perfectly fine. If we did a little bit of help, that would be good. But even that, if we really upset other people, it really doesn't matter. You're not craving to be in their good books. Even if they're totally dissatisfied with us, we wouldn't have a big quarrel with that. Why? Because we ourselves haven't got this neediness to be seen to be perfect, or seen to have done all the right things. Who has it? Who has that kind of perception from everyone all roundedly? No, nobody has got. 58% friend, 42 your enemies. Even then they call victory. Can you believe it? Can you believe that? 42 people against you, 58 people, including yourself, is for you. You think there's any time for good sleep? Probably not. Even if all 99% is against you, but still, if you have no craving for them to love you or respect you or this, and then there's nobody's against you, really. Nobody's opposition is going to upset you. This is what we're talking about, becoming well. Truly becoming well. Uproot the true cause of suffering is preservation of I, in me, and I. When the I isn't the center stage that we try to guard, then there is no real disappointment. And almost like there is no need to quarrel when the craving is not there. Only quarrel only exists if we have a fundamental craving and possessiveness and so on. So that clearly highlights the what we call demerits of craving. In the 12 links of interdependent origination, you will see the ignorance is the root cause of it. Craving and grasping are the kind of running sort of legs of ignorance, And so of course this is a chapter that actually highlights the demerits of craving, And craving is personally very, each and everyone can inwardly look within and then see their degree of discontentment. If they don't have discontentment, if it's discontent with people or place or workplace or whatever, are they to do with the workplace and people, or are they to do with their own inadequacy, and therefore having to fulfill their kind of bottomless pit? So the more craving and wanting we have, that much negative we are. It doesn't mean you don't have opinions. If that's particularly asked, you have opinion, but you're never going to suffer your opinion. And then you're quite willing to negotiate. You're willing to change and cut and paste and adopt differently. Why? Because we need to exist and somehow in the relative world, but deep down we know exactly what are the cause of sorrow. And when we know that is our craving, then we are quite happy to modify, adapt. We can adapt that according to situation, and we just have to let go some, give up some, and not worry about most. Everything's pretty fine, really. But when you have a lot to worry about and so much to fight against and fight for, then you will be turmoil, no matter what. There will be never a time that everything is sorrowless. You can't pray to be sorrowless. May all beings be free of sorrow. It's not. This is just a subjunctive. It's just telling ourselves how to be free of sorrow. And if we can be free of sorrow, it will stress less to the person next. At least they wouldn't be upset that we are distressed or something. At least it looks pretty okay, you know. So then, of course, we are not a burden. You know. And we need to learn from each other. We need to, you know, particularly when people are vulnerable, distressed and discontented, we have to have compassion for them. They don't know the role of the craving, their own craving doing this. They're totally ignorant of the craving of their own mind, perpetuating this perception. They seem so true and correct, and they don't know how to undo that misery, cycle of misery, due to this strong suppression. They are completely suppressed, dominated. They're completely vanquished by their craving. And then you don't lump the person with them, the craving. You feel sorry for the person. You really wish the person could be separated from the craving. And then there will be a nice person left free of the craving, you know. You don't think that he is the craving, you know. You see, even craving is a kind of unfortunate conditioning. And it can be deconditioned. But if we are able to think like that, he or she is fortunate, lucky. But often we are not surrounded by such people. Even if you find one amidst the group, we'd be lucky. Not many surrounding us. If one who thinks like that, he or she will predispose differently, and their positive influence will soften the things, like the lotus. It will be not soiled by the water, that everybody is dampened. But he will act like a lotus flower, you know. And that is the bhikkhu. That is the bhikkhu, solicitor of virtue. That is the real bhikkhu. Real bhikkhu is the one who is able to tame his craving, and then express, shine amidst the darkness, shine amidst the darkness, you know, and not complain the darkness. Why? Because he has no craving for free of darkness, because he knows samsara is with all the people who are enshrouded by darkness. That is nature of samsara. You don't complain. The water is salty, or tear is salty. Everybody's tear is salty, I bet. Every water in the sea water is salty, so you don't complain. You know? Like, that's the nature of reality as it is. Mm-hmm. And then we will not think it's he's like that to me, or anybody you work with. As long as you have craving, particular craving, you want your own way, you will attract such people. They will also have this kind of problem with you. It's not that they have these problem people are we attracting. This one person with the problem is already there in the right middle of it. And he doesn't want to change his position with the craving. Yet he thinks it's all the problem are the other people. But one who knows his share of craving, which he's not willing to negotiate, then yeah, the rigidity comes because of that. But once he's starting to shift a little bit, sort of give some space to others and not push particular view only, particularly looking at various options, and then of course there will be some grace in the ability to not grasping it. Yeah, let go. There's the bhikkhu, renunciate. He renounces his own craving, not just things or place or people. That's not renunciation, that's escapism. Real renunciation is one's own craving, one's own selfishness, one's own egocentricity, and recognizing that needing to be curtailed. That is the renunciation. Hard to do, but very liberatingly sweet. And then there is wellness. There is no sorrow. There is no fear. That's sorrowlessness and not a prayer. You do it. And even if you meditate, you meditate so that you can tune your mind to that kind of reception. Even meditation is not for anything but to have such repertoire, such kind of mentality that you can predispose. Yeah, yes. It's just like try to invoke meditations. Try to invoke that kind of state of what you can be with. Then then you will heal some physical ailments by this mentality. Yeah, otherwise there may be some sign of a disease developing. But as soon as you predispose your mind to this kind of cognitive awareness, it can heal. It can just completely deactivate the problems of the disease, because there is no craving, no clinging. It will make space. It will make the arteries, make the heart, and make the valves, make the muscles and tissue a little bit more spacious. You don't have to put some needle to make it bigger. Stent, they go stents to make it. You're actually mentally thinking like that spaciously. There's give me some space, And this is an amazing cause of wellness, because one is not developing thick blood clotting. Blood clotting mentality is not in action. It is actually going to it will water down. It will water your thoughts, water your feelings, water your emotion, and hence no thickening. And psychophysically you feel lighter and no sign of the illness. Yeah. Sorrowless. Sorrow comes from clinging and grasping. And when there is too much sorrow, it will affect the body. If there's no sorrow, the body is just like a vehicle. It's just what kind of owner the vehicle is. Vehicle looks after it. So when the vehicle is looked after by a person who doesn't host sorrow, or doesn't create sorrow due to craving, he has no fear. He's not attached to the body, because his body is not a sort of is a soluble. It's a transient. It's a very, very hollow and not much there, and it cannot get attached to it. So it's not a shock or not a cause of disbelief. He actually is surprised that it's holding this long. So he's quite joyful even when he sees it's disintegrated. And your growth is not hampered by your physical elements. That is non-aging. Sure, your body will be decomposed, body will drop away, body will become completely untenable as a body. It will break and decompose and collapse. And right now they're all propped by little twigs on each other. Just like a little tent held up by half a dozen poles. When the center pole collapses, the other one collapses, and the tent itself is left just bag. Not even a bag with other. Yeah, our body isn't solidly big, real, or solidly. There is no solidly self. There is no self. It is true reality, true story. Merely labeled one, there is. When we crave not for such a real one, we don't suffer real sufferings. Even sufferings are all illusions. If you can know that, it's because you have no craving. You have no craving for the so-called happiness. There is no happiness if there's craving. Simple as that. So why try to have happiness when we are nursing the craving? So the happiness is devoid of devoid of craving. It's the negative, contaminated desire, it's craving here. But desiring to gain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings is enlightenment thought. This is not craving. This is like the excellent thought, enlightenment thought, I call it. But of course, to conceive that, to replace the craving for I and me and mine, one has to distinguish the poisonous and the medicinous, the difference between the craving and enlightenment thought. And they actually emphasize to give rise to enlightenment thought, after much dissuasion to practice craving. And it's all try to change your mind to take up something else. Take up something else that's at least tenable, and it has got long-term benefit, and it is for the benefit of others, and so on. When one is doing selfishly for oneself, it's the craving of all cravings, really. Even gaining nirvana is seeking nirvana for oneself is tabooed in the mind of Buddhism, because of the even enlightenment, even nirvana for oneself is a craving. So the craving to attain nirvana for oneself is a kind of subtle kind of a craving that others do not recognize. Mahayana teaching shows that this kind of craving for oneself is not permissible. Craving for the wanting to gain enlightenment for the benefit of others is not craving to exist oneself for oneself. So of course this distinction have to be made. So that concludes this particular chapter on craving, which is rather similar to the previous chapter on the desire and attachment. But I think the more this kind of chapters reiterate the points, that much the demerit of the afflictions such as desire or craving becomes more highlighted, and more cognitive awareness, more ability to spot the craving and spot desire and attachment in our mind. Then we will know how to remedy them sooner than later. That's the benefit of this. So we'll conclude here. Thank you.